Then Indo-Nepal issues. India and Nepal having very ancient neighborhood relations, still they are facing challenges at river and many other fronts. China is getting huge fund support from Nepal and China having good relationship. So in order to cater the challenges of China and Nepal, we are also facing various challenges such as Kala Pani issue. So हमने काला पानी issue face किया and this gives twice dissolved since December 2022. Nepal Communist Party government is pro China. So international relations में हम देखते हैं मित्रों, जब भी कोई नई गवर्नमेंट फॉर्म होती है इन स्मॉल नेशंस एंड विच इज़ सपोर्टेड बाय अ बिगर पावरफुल नेशन सच एज चाइना, तो चाइना इंडिया को परेशान करने के लिए बार बार हॉस्टाइल नेबरहुड का काम करता है. इट मेक्स फंडिंग फॉर नेपाल, इट मेक्स फंड टू श्रीलंका, बांग्लादेश एंड पाकिस्तान. सो the Congress of Nepal President Sher Bahadur Deuba and Prime Minister reinstated the dissolved parliament second time in the last 5 months. That leads to the present political crisis in Nepal. So Nepal में क्या होगी? Political crisis and intervention of Chinese communist leaders from time to time leads for 2015 border blockade following protest by Madheshis. मधेशी लोगों का विद्रोह चल रहा था. Then the rise of Nepal and some other ethnic groups against the marginalization of their interest in Nepalese constitution. So ऐसे groups जिनको marginalized कर दिया गया था नेपाल में, जिसमें मधेशी और तेराई रीजन के लोग थे, which has their relationship in India, in UP and Bihar, they were doing protest. Then boundary dispute was there in which 370 square kilometer with Kala Pani, Lipu Lake and Limpia Dhora. Remember this fact, boundary issue at Kala Pani, Limpia Dhora and Lipu Lake. इन 3 जगहों पे गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और नेपाल के बीच में टसल चल रहा है. While India is previously interfered by Nepal's domestic politics, it has repulsed that Nepali policy makers avoid potential spillover political unrest. Why stability in Nepal is India's interest? Stability in Nepal needed to be catered by India because a good and peaceful neighbor can lead to harmonious growth of both trade and commerce, transfer of technologies, sharing of resources and mutual benefit. That is why India is pursuing Nepal's all the kind of demands whatever it is needed. India also supported Nepal in period of earthquake disaster and supported too much with food grains, vegetables and all needy materials. Now, strategic location of Nepal is very crucial because Nepal lies in an area which is on the border front of India and China. So भारत और चीन के बॉर्डर पे नेपाल यहाँ पे ऐसे दिखता है मित्रों. And the lakes, rivers that are coming from Nepal to India that are again shared with the China. So China shares its boundary and do military operations in Tibet Plateau. So Tibet को तो चाइना ने कैप्चर कर ही लिया मित्रों, but we are trying to preserve the interest of Nepal in order to keep it a sovereign nation. So that is why we give their training to the Indian administrative services and Indian police services for the Nepali administrators. तो नेपाल की जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ट्रेनिंग होती है वो इंडिया में ही होती है. So bureaucrats get trained in India. Further, the supply of raw materials for various projects is also done by Indian government. Remember this fact for your prelims as well as mains. Now, Nepal's discontent in trade. Nepal is having largest trading partner of India with 65% of trade, and Nepal found itself in heavily reliant with India in terms of goods and services, local produce, local enterprises and imposition of non-tariff barriers, lack of standard infrastructure. That are issues with Nepal which faces trust deficit towards India. But Nepal somehow said that it is facing trust deficit because 2015 blockade, sovereignty and suspicion for India. Then issues with Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1950, 1950 में treaty हुई peace of friendship के लिए, that again makes a Indo-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And there is lukewarm response from India to request increasing bitterness in the relation. So नेपाल को जब सारी चीज़ें इंडिया के ही द्वारा मिल रही हैं and still Nepal is acting as a hostile neighbor, that should not be intervened and taken care by any cost when they are having training in the India, they are having resources from India, they are having each and every things from India, despite they are behaving as a childish nation. Now, so discontent over India's approach in dealing with river treaties. India has various treaties with Nepal, and the issues with Lipu Lake, Kala Pani and Limpiadhora again goes against the interest of India, because on Limpiadhora Nepal is bringing a dam, on Kala Pani Nepal is saying that it is in the Nepal's territory, which is in the Uttarakhand region of India. That again makes a challenge for the government of India. Then unrestricted cross-border movement of people. Again Nepal is raising the issue that people are going to and fro from Nepal and India without any restriction or security, visa or passport. So due to their village areas, their localities and their relations with the nearby people, they are having the problem that they say we live here and we have to communicate in this area. That is why again becomes an issue. Further, migrant workers who returning to the areas from India to following the job loss. Then multi-party democracy and economic prosperity again remains a way forward for development of Indo-Nepal relations. 6th Indo-Nepal Joint Commission meeting was held, and amid which discussed cooperation in range of areas including power, oil supply, gas, water resources, capacity building, tourism, among other areas. So India also provided COVID relief to the Nepal in terms of PPE kits, oxygen cylinders, masks and other facilities and healthcare facilities. Now, new oil deal by OPEC Plus. So OPEC Plus is organization of petroleum exporting countries. OPEC क्या है मित्रों? ऐसे देशों का समूह जो कि पेट्रोल एंड ऑयल रिसोर्सेज को एक्सपोर्ट करती हैं. So OPEC Plus has created a new rule for the rising oil prices, that is UAE and Saudi Arabia has a brief impasse that OPEC will provide a new regime for the skewed oil supply. In the period of such turmoil of COVID-19, we see that there was huge rise. So earlier the graph shows that oil prices were declined in the first quarter year by 2020, then 2027 July 21 it was on rise of 76.61 barrel. That again makes a news and very important fact for UPSC prelims as well as mains. UPSC has many times asked Brent crude oil. Now these are most oil producing countries, that is UAE and Saudi Arabia, and which shows that global commodity in terms of crude oil was skewed due to COVID pandemic. That is why OPEC Plus thought to rise the prices. So it was formed at Baghdad conference of 1960. 1960 के बगदाद कॉन्फ्रेंस में OPEC का निर्माण हुआ था मित्रों, and that was intergovernment organization with Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela. These all are oil rich nations. Then there was an executive organ and secretariat at Vienna in Austria with 30 countries. तो ऑस्ट्रिया के वियना में इसका सेक्रेटेरिएट है. Remember this fact for your prelims point of view. What is the objective of OPEC? OPEC looks into stabilization of oil markets, oil prices regulation, and protect the interest of consumers and producers as well as the investors in the oil market sector. Further, OPEC also looks into the balancing of hegemony of USA as well as Russia in the oil market, and its members include Mexico, Russia, Oman, Uzbekistan, and which also part of the Vienna group. So वैसे members जो कि Vienna group में part करते हैं and which are also part of OPEC plus, they take part in the decision making scenario of Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries plus. Now let us look into a chart which shows that rising of forex and volatile oil prices. तो oil prices जब volatile रहती हैं friends तो forex reserve decline करता है in order to mitigate the economic crisis. Economic challenge को maintain करने के लिए oil prices की flow होनी चाहिए, and the high outflow of hot money is also in a problematic mode. Then exchange rate management, which under the RBI intervention to curb excessive volatility in the foreign exchange reserve, though India has highest foreign reserve of 624 billion US dollar in present scenario. Now it generates the investors confidence, helping the finance India's current account deficit को बढ़ावा देता है ये. Further, it minimizes the impact of just above junk category rating and net international investment position of -12.9% of GDP. It also provides a regional leader that expands India's ability to open currency swap lines for other, especially the neighbors such as SAARC nations, which started with India's under the petroleum consumption and export regime. Again, liquidity against economic risk, domestic finance system crisis like high non-performing assets, and crisis of ILFS. So that was again a big news for infrastructure leasing and financial services crisis, which was again a non-banking financial company which goes into a deep grudge by making a loss of 14,000 crore in before the pandemic situation. So in order to mitigate the challenges of non-banking financial companies and adjusted gross revenue AGR का issue हमें अमेरिका के साथ हुआ था, then we have global economic crisis due to COVID-19 related uncertainties. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, again July news. IBC code में क्या क्या amendment हुए. So in this May, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was completed 5 years of its journey, passing in 2016. So 101st Constitutional Amendment Act was passed in the midnight by Modi government in a joint parliamentary meeting. तो हमने देखा था मित्रों कि कैसे joint parliamentary मीटिंग में 101st अमेंडमेंट एक्ट को लॉन्च किया गया, जिसमें जीएसटी बिल को इंट्रोड्यूस किया गया. एंड फर्दर इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी कोड वाज ब्रिंग फॉरवर्ड इन ऑर्डर टू कैटर द नीड ऑफ द declining the enterprises and other commercial sectors. Then reducing the bankruptcy resolution time is also a procedure for the insolvency bankruptcy code, making behavioral change and creating insolvency professionals. Remember it friends. क्या होते हैं? insolvency professionals होते हैं which reducing insolvency from 4.3 years target to 1.6 years. यानी कि जो इंसॉल्वेंसी 4.3 सालों में हो रही थी, दैट इज रिड्यूस्ड टू 1.6 ईयर्स बाय इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल्स बाय प्रोवाइडिंग बिहेवियरल चेंजेस फॉर वाइडर लेंडिंग इकोसिस्टम. तो ये प्रोफेशनल्स क्या करते हैं? दे मेक बिहेवियरल चेंज इन द एटीट्यूड ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर्स एज वेल एज द डिफॉल्टर्स, जो कि अपने डेट को पे नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, लोन अमाउंट को पूरा नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. And this proceeding of forcing many corporate defaulters to pay off their debt even before the insolvency has started. Further, India has improvement in the ease of doing business and getting credit rank. Earlier, India has ranked off 155 in 2070. So आप देख रहे हैं 155 रैंक 2017 से इम्प्रूव करके इंडिया केम टू 63rd रैंक इन 2020. Now, framework of insolvency bankruptcy code. This framework shows that there are corporates and there are non-corporates body. So corporates need to have insolvency resolution, then liquidation process, then national company law appellate tribunal, adjudication authority. तो appellate tribunal में जाने के बाद ये मामला national company law tribunal के द्वारा solve होता है, in which it determines how much is the debt and how much to be paid. Further, non-corporate sector, that means individual and entrepreneurs, small sector, startups and medium and micro small companies. So individuals which are having personal guarantors to corporate debtors, उन्हें अपने ऋण चुकाने के लिए, लोन चुकाने के लिए प्रॉमिस किया जाता है. Then those partnership firms are also taken by insolvency professionals to pay their loans. Those individuals are undertaken by proprietary business, who are taking individual without business are taken into debt recovery tribunal and debt recovery appellate tribunal, which also guarantees to recover the loans that are taken by these corporate bodies. If that matter do not settle, that goes into Supreme Court of India. यानी कि without going to any court, the debt recovery tribunal solves the issue of debt and insolvency resolution process, then bankruptcy resolution process by insolvency professionals. Remember this key point for your prelims and mains point of view. Now, keeping in mind that this fact remain coherent for your prelims as well as mains, it acts for the 21% of completed CRIPS, which 32,547 cases under IBC and NCNT, 19,377 disposed, and continuation of the code goes for 75 to 65%. Now, challenges remaining low recovery rate. जो भी डेट ट्रिब्यूनल के ऑर्डर हो रहे हैं उसके बावजूद भी रिकवरी काफ़ी कम है. That is delays among 17,170 IBC cases pending in the court is high of 90 to 95% haircuts. Then delays in the admission of cases of NCLT, नेशनल कंपनी लॉ ट्रिब्यूनल में जो भी केसेस जाते हैं उनका डिसबर्स होने में टाइम लगता है एंड they take lot of time by insolvency professionals. So that is why we discussed that 2.3 years of time is reduced to 1.3 years. And delays in the unsolicited late bids. तो जो भी bids हैं वो unsolicited रह जा रही हैं तो उनको पूरा करने के लिए और भी impetus दिया जा रहा है. Then delays due to appeals under LCLT judgment litigated continuously by NCLAT and the Supreme Court of India. जजमेंट आने के बावजूद भी ये सारे केस सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चले जाते हैं एंड देन these courses take a more years to complete their judgment and fulfilling of the debts and loan taken by corporate defaulters. Then staffing and infrastructure issues in NCLT, more than 50% of its sanction strength have vacancy of 34 members including president against the total of 63. Then need to strengthening home buyers right according to 2018 amendment, which gives a minimum of 100 home buyers for 10% of the total flat purchasers are needed for the initiating of the process. Very important. Now how it works, friends? The committee of creditors can go for the alternative resolution process. अगर एक बार में वो resolution process solve नहीं हो रहा है by NCLT, तो the committee of creditors can go for the next process directly reaching to the Supreme Court. Then company defaulters or corporate defaulters can submit a base resolution plan to the committee of creditors तो बेस रिजोल्यूशन प्लान दैट इज मिनिमम अमाउंट एट विच द लोन वाज टेकन, उतनी पेमेंट करके या उसकी हाफ पेमेंट करके दैट डिफॉल्ट कैन बी रिइंबर्स्ड। दैन डिस्ट्रेस्ड company defaulters are permitted to initiate a PIRP with the approval of the 2/3 of their creditors to resolve their outstanding debt। यानी कि जो भी ऋण लिया गया है उसका 2/3 हिस्सा वे पे करके डेट को रिकवर कर सकते हैं। एंड इफ द प्लान इज एक्सेप्टेबल देन द resolution professional would invite the application to properly plan with 90 days। जब ये प्लान अप्रूव कर लिया जाएगा तो 90 दिन के अंतराल पे वो डिफ़ॉल्टर को बुलाया जाएगा एंड ही विल बी आस्क्ड टू पे 2/3 अमाउंट ऑफ द मनी और वॉट एवर ही कैन पे इन ऑर्डर टू मेक मिनिमम पेमेंट। इन दिस वे दिस वर्क्स। Now next news is government security. So I believe that you are quite understanding the topics. So I will take a small break for 2 days and we will discuss the next topic in the next class. Thank you and have a nice day. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.